Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast IT Coach for Small Business Leaders. I'm your co-host, Josh Davis, the VP of Marketing here at InfoSystems, and the real host of this show is our virtual CIO, Aaron Swan, who is the IT coach for small business.
Co-host too.
No, man, you got to have like major character and sidekick, right? I'm just the sidekick for this thing.
All right.
You're the brains in this operation. All right, so Aaron, what are we going to talk about today?
We are kind of starting this here today by questions from listeners, and so we had an excellent question come in about, I guess one way of putting it is like, why am I getting this particular error message that's coming up on my screen?
Yeah, and this question was related to browsing the web, right? And somebody had tried to go to a website. They got an error message instead of getting the page that they had hoped to see when they typed in a URL in the browser address bar,
right?
Whatever that's called.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be talking about this. I think we've alluded to it in some of our security podcasts in the past, but we've never really just taken the time to dive into the issue. So excited to do that today. So the error message in particular, and maybe we can insert the screenshot later so they can see what it looks like.
Yeah.
But the idea is, instead of going to the web page, you may have a pop-up that says something like, your connection is not secure. It varies depending on which browser you're using, whether you're using Firefox or Chrome or IE or Edge or Safari. They all have kind of a different look, but essentially the text is the same. Your connection is not secure. It may go on to say this, the server couldn't prove that it is who it says it was. It can't be trusted. So text to that effect.
Yep.
So go ahead.
Well, before we talk about the technology that's in play there, which is what I assume you're going to be diving into, let's talk about, should people really pay attention to that error message?
Yeah, they absolutely should pay attention to
because it seems like it's my experience that when that page pops up, the first thing you do is try and figure out how to navigate around it, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely, and that's why it's so important for us to talk about this topic.
Okay.
So we're going to go into the why, what that message is, and then how you should respond to it.
Okay.
So why am I getting that message? Well, first of all, that is being caused by a SSL certificate error. So SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer.
Is there going to be a quiz later?
No quiz. We're going to try not to
At
get
the
too
end of this
technical
episode, we need to have like an online quiz to make sure everybody remembers each, the definitions that you review.
And what do they get if they pass?
So SSL, for all of you listening out there, Secure Socket Layer.
Right. So there's a couple different kinds of SSL certificates. One is called a self-signed, which just means that's typically been done by the organization itself or perhaps the device it's on. Or the more common kind is that they're issued by a certificate authority or a CA. So there's some more terms for each of us.
And I'm sure becoming a certificate authority is this probably really complex process, and only very few people out there have that designation.
Right. So these are major companies that do this for a living, is that they issue certificates. So the purpose of an SSL certificate, what it does, and so this is where it's going to sound super technical here for a moment, it binds a cryptographic key to an organization's details. So let's talk about what that means. A cryptographic key is just the idea of it's something that allows us to encrypt. So it's literally a mathematical thing that allows us to do encryption. And it's binding that to the details about an organization, such as the name of the server that you're trying to go to, the name of the organization. So like our company here is InfoSystems. If you go out to infosystems.biz, you will see the little green padlock up there in the upper left-hand corner. And so it binds those details of who we are with the name of our website and allows you to interchange information with us securely. So if a website has an SSL certificate, it activates that little green padlock that you see to show up in your web browser.
We'll be back with the IT Coach for Small Business Leaders podcast after we pause for this special message. I'm Josh Davis, VP of Marketing at InfoSystems. You may have seen me co-hosting episodes of our podcast, IT Coach for Small Business Leaders. Did you know that you can book a personal IT strategy session with Aaron Swan, host of this podcast? We created this podcast to be a valuable resource for small business leaders in our community, but we wanted to take it one step further. You can book a free meeting with Aaron Swan to review your IT strategy and help you build a plan that will lead to IT success. Just visit our website at www.infosystems.biz, follow the link to book your IT strategy session, and you'll be able to work directly with Aaron to build your IT strategy. Now back to the podcast.
What's the purpose? Why do we have that SSL certificate? Really, it's two things. One I've already mentioned, and that is encryption. It's so that when you are interacting with a website, particularly one where you're going to be sending personal information, whether it be just your name, right? Even your name is sensitive in some way.
Yeah, even just submitting a web form where your
Absolutely.
name and email address or something like that, which is super common. You're transmitting personal information.
Right, and that could be used against you in some way. So, and certainly if your credit cards, you're going to be putting credit card numbers, social security numbers, just anything that's secure, you really want to make sure you see that padlock up there showing that this is secure. So the SSL certificate is doing two things. As I said, one is encryption, so it allows you to send that. And so that gets into public key, private key, and we're not going to go into all the details about how that works. But the certificate is what enables that encryption. The other thing it does is just trust. And that is, you are ensuring that the website you're trying to go to is in fact the website that you are visiting. So it's not someone that's set up, falsely or trying to steal your information. So it's verifying that where you're going to put your information is truly the site that it claims to be.
Which prevents what my thought is, there's a common type of attack called man-in-the-middle attack, where people will surface something in between the user and their intended destination, so that when you input your information, you're giving it to the man in the middle and not the end goal that you had originally intended.
And that's exactly what certificates, one of the attacks that they're designed to keep that from happening, because the browser and the website interact with each other to guarantee that it's not being intercepted in the middle.
Yep.
So why are we getting there? Why is our listener getting this error when they go to a website? Well, there's multiple reasons that could happen. One might just be the certificate has expired. Could be that the operator of the website has neglected to keep that renewed. You tend not to see that with the big guys, right? I'd be very surprised if I went out to Amazon or Bank of America or something, although it does happen.
And actually pretty recently, there was a regional outage of Microsoft Teams that lasted for I want to say 4 hours or something like that. And when they got it fixed, they released the information that the root cause of that was because someone had failed to renew an SSL certificate.
Yeah. So it does happen even with the big guys. Yeah. A little more rare. But
very rare, but yes.
So could be the certificate's expired. It could be that you're not at the site you think you are. So that's the first thing. If I got that error message, I go verify up in that address window. Am I really at the site I intended to go to? It could be, and this is the most common one nowadays, I think. It could be that the encryption strength is outdated. So let's talk about that for a little minute. So in recent time, the browser manufacturers, so Chrome and IE and Firefox, all these guys have collaborated together to start really enforcing a higher strength of encryption. Mm-hmm. So if the website in question has an outdated encryption strength that their certificate is keyed around, it's going to flag that message.
Okay.
And so you should pay attention to that. Now, as you said, the first instinct people have is that they try to get around it. And in some cases you can. Sometimes there's just a little bypass there.
Yeah, there's usually, you click advanced options
right
down at the bottom, continue
Right.
to the website, and it just goes right through, which I think most people, that's probably the path that most people try to take.
It is. And because of that, some of the web browsers have now stopped taking that option away, particularly if it is an encryption strength issue. They'll just say, this is unsafe and you can't do it. Now, there may still be a way if you dig into the settings of your browser that you can do a bypass, but the point in all this is, you probably shouldn't be doing that. So what should you do? Well, first of all, pay attention. If you see that error message pop up, you should take it seriously and really find out what's going on. If you aren't sure, then get help. Get some professional help to check in. As we said, in some cases you can bypass it. I do that with extreme caution. Make sure you really know what you're getting into. The big thing, and here's what I really want to focus on, is don't enter any personal information in. If you're at a site and you're getting a certificate error like that, then something's wrong with the encryption, or something's wrong with the website or the authentication, and I'm not going to trust it with any personal information.
In the case that happens, what should you do? Should you try and contact the company via telephone or email or something to try and troubleshoot? What would be the way to
I think that's a good possibility. So, I would start with, well, did I fumble fingered and type in the wrong address? Because that's a likely scenario, particularly if it was a well-known website I'm trying to go to.
Yeah.
If I'm sure I'm at the right place, though, and I'm still getting that message, then, I'll probably go kind of we would call it an out-of-band communication method. So instead of trying to do it through the web, pick up the phone, go to an email client, do something else to try to contact them and find out.
What I think the browser providers or the browser companies should do is just put up a message that says nope. And have somebody have a picture of somebody with their hand out, and if you try to type in a unsecure web address, you just get the nope person. Nope.
And I don't disagree with you, because the reason why we're having this podcast today about this topic is because the error message is rather convoluted.
Yeah, it's unclear. You get to that page and it's got a bunch of complicated IT terms on there, and you don't understand what it is, so you look for the path around it. Whereas if it was more clearly communicated that, nope, the place you're trying to go is not safe.
Right.
Turn back.
Yeah.
That would probably be a more effective way of informing people.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one more thing that you consider doing too, and that is, I told you that the browsers have started getting better about enforcing how the certificates should look. Well, that's assuming that you have an up-to-date browser.
Yeah.
So first of all, check that. Make sure you are keeping your browser up to date. There's a website you can use to do that. There's one out there. It's called howsmyssl.com. So it's howsmyssl.com, and it will at least check your browser out to see if it is looking for the proper things that it should.
Yeah, and in addition to what you've discussed, that the way some of the browser providers are approaching encryption, Google and I assume other search indexing companies are also approaching this problem, to where if you don't have, if you're a website owner and you don't have SSL security implemented on your site, it will actually impact your search results.
Yeah.
Because now they're incorporating credibility and security into search results. So if you're a business owner out there and you don't have SSL installed on your website, then you need to do that, because it's going to help you in Google search rankings and all these other search providers. If you're wondering why your website doesn't show up well in Google, that could be one of the reasons.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. Statistically now, we're being told that about 80% of the websites out there are now encrypted.
Yeah, and there are, I don't know if you have information about free versus paid SSLs, because I know there are free options out there.
Sure. Yeah, so one of the things that I would say about that, we talked about self-signed certificates, because those are generally free.
Yeah.
It's something the device or the server is doing it itself. The problem with self-signed is, even though the encryption works okay, there's no trust level because the browser that you're coming to doesn't know you as an authority to know that they can trust you. So that's the problem with self-signed certificate. The same thing could be true of those free ones out there as well.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're not as well-known organizations. The browsers may or may not have a built-in trust. Now, there is a way to get around it. You can import the certificate, but there's danger in doing that as well because you need to make sure that who you're importing that certificate from is someone that you should trust. So, I tend to steer people to, if you're a business owner, you're looking to put an SSL certificate up, get it from one of the well-known companies out there doing this for a living, because that way the browsers automatically have that trust built into them. It just makes it easier because you're trying to reach consumers out there and you want to just remove any barrier from them having to do something to visit your website.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm trying to set up a storefront and someone tries to come there and the first thing they get is a certificate error, they're probably not coming back.
Right. Yeah, you've just lost that customer.
Right.
Yeah, so takeaways that I heard during this conversation. One, if you encounter a URL error or an SSL error as you're navigating the internet, first make sure you've typed in the web address correctly.
Right.
Because it could just be a simple typo or something in the website you tried to visit. Second, if that's not the case, proceed with caution.
Yeah.
Most likely don't go there, but if you do go there, absolutely don't submit any personal information on that website. And you might want to try and contact the company to let them know that you're experiencing an issue, and there's probably a offline path that they could provide to do whatever it is you wanted to do in the first place. And then lastly, if you're a business owner and you have a website that does not have SSL technology, it's something you absolutely need to implement, because not only will it help you build trust with your customers and prospects or users of your website, but it also affects things like your search engine rankings.
Yeah.
So, any last words?
And one, I'd just throw out the reminder again, if you're the consumer, then check your browser. Go to howsmyssl.com, make sure that it's up to date, and just generally that's a good idea anyways, to keep your patches and everything on your system up to date, because a lot of them deal with these type of security issues.
Good information. Thanks again, Aaron, and hopefully everyone enjoyed today's discussion about SSLs. If you have your own questions that you would like us to address on the IT Coach for Small Business Leaders podcast, go online, submit them on our LinkedIn or Facebook page. You can also go to our website and submit a form, and let us know what you would like to talk about, because we really want to engage our audience and talk about the things that are important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to hear your questions.
Absolutely. Thanks.